What is going on, guys? My name is AK, back again with another YouTube video. Now in today's video we've got 10 more competitive COD tips and tricks that I think you guys are going to really like. So if you haven't seen part 1, we did 10 tips and tricks that I tried to make them things that maybe you haven't heard before, so hopefully at least a few of these are new information to you, and maybe a lot of them are, but either way, hopefully you guys are going to enjoy this one, and check out part 1 if you haven't done that already. But that's then done, let's jump straight into it. Now the first one I want to talk to you about is something that I hear a lot of people saying, and this isn't actually a gameplay thing, but instead it's don't keep changing settings. So you see a lot of people that change their sensitivity every day or change their aim curve response type every day, and although they make small little changes, you spend a lot of time actually adapting to how the game feels, and then if you change the settings or your FOV or something, you then have to readapt, albeit maybe very slightly, but you still have to readapt to the thing that you've changed. So the more you're changing stuff, the more you have to readapt to sort of relearn how the game looks and how the game feels, and thus you can focus then on the fundamentals of the game, so you spend a lot more time focusing on things that really you shouldn't be. So really, I'd say try and limit how much you change your in-game settings. Find something that works for you, and then if a YouTuber says use this, or someone says use this, then you know, well, maybe that's good for them, but for me, I like this. And so, I mean, give everything a try. Don't settle for something that isn't the best. But once you've found something that works for you, just stick with it. Now, I know there are a lot of people that do just stick with it, but if you're one of those people that keep changing their settings all the time, just try and find something that works, and just give it some time, stick with it, and hopefully it'll work well for you. Now, the next tip I'm bringing you is something you guys use in all of the game modes, and that is spam your equipment on the first hardpoint, the first round of S&D, or the first round of control. So I'm sure you guys are aware that actually getting your first trophy system actually does take a little bit of time. Now in normal gameplay, you'll probably get your first trophy system somewhere in the second hill. So on the first hardpoint, maybe on the first round of S&D, or the first half maybe of the first round of control, make sure that on every life you're throwing both your nade and your stun. If ever on the first round of S&D, hardpoint control, you're dying with any equipment left, then there's a bit of a problem. You need to be spamming that because they don't have any trophies to block it. So you have to use it for information, to get kills, to help get kills, you know, stuns, that kind of thing. So make sure that you're spamming that equipment on the early rounds. I mean, keep spamming it later into the game, but especially when they're not going to have any trophies to block it. Now, the next one I'll talk about is holding your kill cams. Now, this is something that a lot of pro players do and talk about, but I thought I'd just sort of re-explain it for those of you that maybe aren't too sure what it is. So, if you don't know, the time left on the hardpoint, as you can see, we've got 45 seconds left on this, actually does have quite an impact on actually where you spawn. So maybe if you're spawning out and there's 30 seconds, you'll be spawning towards the deep back P3 side over there. But if you're spawning out for the hardpoint when there is, say, only 5 seconds left on the hardpoint, the spawn out then becomes the back spawn of the old hill. So you'll spawn sort of towards there at the back of lights. Now you don't want that. Of course, you want the closest spawn to the new hill as possible. So if you die and there is 5 seconds left on the clock, don't rush and sprint the kill cam. Instead, just wait for the kill cam, because then when the new hardpoint sort of clocks, you will either have good spawns if your team has pushed out the back, because even if your team has pushed out the back spawns for new and you die with time left on old, you will still spawn out at the bad location for old most of the time, unless of course the enemy team are blocking it. So instead what you do is you wait until the new hardpoint has popped, then you spawn in. Again, you do this just by watching the kill cam. If the timing doesn't work, it doesn't work, but if at all possible, do this, and then you'll get favoured spawns for the next hardpoint. So that is holding kill cams. Make sure that, yeah, again, if you die with only a few seconds left on the clock of the old hardpoint, you wait out the kill cam, and then make sure you spawn in once the new hardpoint has clocked. Now, sounds really easy, although it is something that I forget, and a lot of people forget to do, so make sure that you're doing it. It is very helpful. On the subject of kill cams, the next one I want to talk to you about is actually watching the enemy's point of view from your kill cam on Search and Destroy. Now, there's a lot of information that you can actually get from this. I'll roll a clip afterwards to show you what you can actually see, but the two main things that you can pick up is, one, players that you might not have seen that are visible on the enemy's point of view. So say for instance they were round a corner that maybe you didn't see, but on the enemy's point of view they can see them. If you watch the kill cam, you can then call that player out to your teammates. And the second one is actually you can see the location of the enemy bomb, provided it hasn't been planted and you know where it is already. If it's down, you will see the yellow bomb indicator, which in the example kill cam that I'll roll now, you can actually see the bomb, so that way you know that the bomb is down, it's not picked up. But if it is being picked up by someone, that will be red and an arrow pointing in the direction of the person planting the bomb. So make sure you're using this, watch the kill cams to get all that information that you can, call that out to your teammates, and hopefully that will make S&D just a little bit easier. So the next tip I want to talk to you guys about is drawing aim. Now, what does this mean? This is something that you see quite a lot on the rotation to P2, or say the enemy has spawns for P2 here on raid. Quite often you'll see an AR set up on this back tree over here, so they'll be watching the back, the push from laundry. You know, there's a lot of spawns out by P1 side, and so this is where this trick, a lot of people actually use this. So for this, you're going to need 2 players. I've got Infiction here in the lobby. He's going to be helping out with a few other tips in today's video, but basically the way that the trick goes is he will sprint all the way across into the jungle, and then me, normally running the AR, I do have a sub on at the moment, but normally the AR player would then follow very close behind. And so, do you want to just demonstrate that really quick? So what does this do? Well, basically the player that is sat up here on the back tree will see the first player, the player that's drawing the aim, hence why it's called that. They sort of draw the aim across. So the player on the back will start shooting at that player and turn around. Now this player is a sub player. They don't intend on taking that gunfight. All they're doing is sprinting straight for the back of the jungle area over there. If you want to run again, I'll just sort of show you what that looks like. So that player will run across, and then the aim is drawn over there. That is when the other player, the AR, will then peek round the corner here, and then they can take a gunfight where they're not being pre-aimed because their aim is over towards this side here, and they can take that free gunfight there and pick up the kill. Now this does work on a whole load of other spots, just this one sort of on the back here of P2 raid. You see it happen all the time, so I thought it would be a very good example to sort of show what it looks like. So this one we're talking about is bait and switch. Now this again is something that you need 2 players for, but again you see this a lot with all of the pros, and this basically massively increases your chance of winning a gunfight. And so to do this you need 2 players. So the first player slides out, shoots a few bullets into the person, and then dips back. A bit like that. And then when the enemy player thinks they've got you weak, because they will have shot this player a few times, they're either going to push that or hold the pre-aim, expecting this weak player to re-challenge. And instead, you, who are full health and didn't take the initial gunfight, then slide out. And the clue's in the name. The first player baits, and then you switch to the second player to fly out again. They're expecting a gunfight where perhaps they've got the person weak, but instead you come out full health and you can always pick up the gunfight. Now, we're doing this in Zig. Again, this applies to a whole load of situations on the map, so definitely give this one a try. So next tip I want to show you guys is one that I actually saw on a Attach video not too long ago. I'll have it linked in the description if you want to go check that out. There are a few other good tips in that one. But what he said is you can use sort of grenades as smokes. If you know, smokes actually are sort of banned in the competitive rule sets. You can't actually use them, but you can use your semtexes to a very similar effect. For instance, if we throw the nade at the ground there and we just sort of look, you see there's a very big smoke cloud for quite a while that will certainly give you some cover to maybe push around a corner or maybe push past a lane that otherwise would be pre-aimed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Infiction to throw a grenade down at the floor. I'll just sort of show you how hard it is to actually see them through the grenade. So if you want to go do that, and I'll show you what that looks like. So you can see, other than the sort of the red name tag that you see above their head, it's actually very hard to see them, especially if maybe you're at a long-range gunfight holding a lane or something. You're probably not going to see that, so definitely make sure you give that one a try. I mean, of course, nades can be useful for getting kills as well. I mean, that is their main use, but you know, for a bit of an alternative use of them, give that one a try. So next thing I want to talk to you about is one that actually quite a lot of people know, but it's actually that you can use your artillery streak, or your artillery, if you get the streak, to actually ping the minimap. So as you can see, the ping there showed that one player was over in the tiki hut there. Now you don't actually have to use the streak, you can put the streak away, although beware that if you then do it again, you don't get the minimap ping again. So you can get one free ping of the minimap actually out of your streak. And continuing on the theme of streaks, there are a lot of ways that you can actually increase the usage of your streak. So a lot of people, when they get an artillery, will just throw all 3 down straight away. And while that can be very useful if you need to clear out an area very quickly, you can actually get a lot more efficient use out of them, especially for on S&D for a bomb plant. So say we have the bomb down here at A, and there is maybe 30 seconds left on the clock. What you can do is you can actually drop 1 artillery and then put it away, and then sort of take some gunfights for a bit. That way you know no one's on the bomb now, and then 7.5 seconds later, you can pull your artillery back out, drop another one on the bomb site, and then again take gunfights, sit in a corner, do whatever you need to do, and then wait another 7.5 seconds, and then drop the final one, which basically gives you a much longer usage of your streak, and gives you a longer defense over the bomb site. So this one I'll show you is something you can do with the cruise missile. Now that's if you call it in and hold down the left trigger. For me, it depends what button it's mapped to. You can actually slow down the speed at which it comes, and then use that to actually angle it. And as you can see, we did fail there, didn't angle it into the top laundry like we were trying. But you see, you can actually bend sort of the flight of it and use that to get people that are hiding in places that you might not be able to get if you're just bringing it straight down. Now, final tip for today's video is actually using the sprint glitch. Now, if you don't know what the sprint glitch is, this is a way to sprint a little bit faster, not massively so. So, you know, you've got the ordinary sprint where you just sort of sprint forward, hold the stick forward and you sprint like that. Now, that is pretty fast. But there is a way that is slightly faster, and that is actually sort of using the momentum from your initial sprint out. So your initial sprint out is slightly faster than the base movement speed. So you can use this sort of tactically. So you sprint out and then you stop, and then you sprint out and then you stop, and then you sprint out and then you stop. And doing this is actually ever so slightly faster than the normal sprint. So while that might not sound like very much, you use this off the start of a round of S&D, or maybe to rush to the hard point or to a control zone, something like that. You're going to get there slightly earlier than your enemy expects if they sort of know the usual timings of the round. Maybe if they don't even know sort of the actual number on the clock, they just sort of have a feel for when you'd normally be there. You can get there a second or two faster than you would otherwise be able to. So definitely something that you want to try. So that's just sprint forward and then stop sprinting and then sprint forward, because that way you get those sort of momentum boosts every once in a while, and that is quite helpful. Now, I have to admit, this is a lot easier when you're running the auto sprint setting, as you can see here. So for that, you only actually have to push your thumbstick forward and you start sprinting, as opposed to actually press it down. Especially if you're going to be doing this quite a lot, you want to try and keep your thumbsticks at least working pretty well, just so you don't get stick drift and stuff like that. So make sure that you turn that on. I know officially it is GA'd, but I still use it. I don't want to have to buy a new controller every 3 days because someone says they don't like me using a certain sprint mechanic. So I use it, and if you want to, I'm sure no one will notice. But that's about it for today's video. Really hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, be sure to drop a like, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.